Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Look, if you're navigating the crazy complexities of the polymer markets, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're bringing you a premium, heavily data-driven briefing on global polystyrene, or PS, dynamics for the fourth week of August 2026. We are going to break down the exact numbers, the shifting sentiments, and honestly, most importantly, what all of this actually means for your procurement strategy moving forward. Let's get right into it. Okay, let's dive into this. All the data and the intelligence we're unpacking today comes directly from Polymer Bazaar. Their core mission? It's brilliantly simple but incredibly vital. They are all about empowering your high-stakes corporate purchasing decisions. The whole philosophy basically revolves around three main pillars: price, prediction, and profit. By tracking those raw prices and making really solid data-backed predictions, they ultimately protect your profit margins. All right, to get the absolute most out of today's intelligence, we're going to follow a pretty straightforward structure. First up, global macro trends. Second, we'll look at the Indian Bazaar pulse. Third is our strategic purchase recommendation. And finally, next steps and resources. Kicking things off with Section 1, Global Macro Trends, focusing on the diverging markets in the US and Europe. Setting this global stage is absolutely crucial, right? Because contrasting trends inevitably create these huge ripples throughout the entire supply chain. And right now, we are seeing heavily diverging markets. It's kind of like a tale of two continents. Over in the US Bazaar, export demand has totally waned, and supply is completely unconstrained. Because of that, prices for both GPPS and HIPS are down by $8 per metric ton on an FAS Houston basis. But jump over to the Europe Bazaar, and it's a completely different story. Purchases there are also weak, yet prices are actually surging. GPPS and HIPS are up by €78 per metric ton on an FDNWE basis. Now, you might be wondering, why on earth is that happening? Well, it's because European production costs have shot up. It perfectly illustrates how raw production costs can literally override weak demand and just force those prices upward. Let's see how this builds out the rest of our global picture, looking specifically at Turkey and China. In the Turkey Bazaar, market sentiment is, well, stagnant. Buyers are firmly sitting on the sidelines. They're refusing to build up inventories because there's just abundant supply right now. Consequently, prices are super stable on a CFR basis. We're looking at GPPS at $1,630 and HIPS totally unmoved at $1,700 per metric ton. Now, over in China, the sentiment is similarly cautious. Buyers are strictly purchasing for their immediate requirements and nothing more. Spot prices are sitting at 9,500 RMB for GPPS and 10,350 RMB for HIPS. So across the board, the global sentiment is really hesitant, heavily dictated by regional supply and those localized production hurdles we just talked about. Moving on to Section 2, the Indian Bazaar Pulse, where we'll look at localized metrics and importer sentiment. Funneling our analysis away from those broader global trends for a second, let's focus directly on the localized market realities and customs metrics in India. That number, $1,500, is key. This represents the absolute latest overseas offer for HIPS imports. Specifically, import offers for September 2026 shipments have softened to right around $1,500 per metric ton on a CIF Navashiva/Mindra basis. For buyers, this softening is a critical data point when you're trying to calculate near-term procurement costs against any potential domestic price hikes. Adding to that local context, we've had a few recent administrative shifts. Effective August 21st, 2026, the customs exchange rates shifted just a bit. The import rate is now at 96.50 rupees to the dollar. That's an increase of 0.45, while the export rate sits at 94.80, which is up by 0.50. But providing a nice baseline of stability amidst these currency tweaks, local giant Supreme Petrochem announced literally no change in prices across all their PS grades. That decision has been effective since August 17th. But here is where the behavioral psychology of the market gets really fascinating. Despite all the caution we just saw globally, the domestic buying pulse in India actually sustained a slight improvement in purchases. So, why are Indian buyers suddenly moving off the sidelines? Well, they're reading the broader economic tea leaves. Buyers have been watching those climbing crude oil prices globally, and they strongly suspect that impending ex-works price hikes are right on the horizon. Because they see the writing on the wall, they're stepping in to buy right now. Sure, it's in smaller strategic volumes, but they are absolutely doing it to get ahead of the curve. Which brings us perfectly to Section 3, Strategic Purchase Recommendation, Anticipating Market Shifts. So, The crucial point here is, how do we actually translate all of these metrics, the European production cost hikes, the softened import offers, the cautious buying, into a fully actionable strategy? It all comes down to a very clear cause and effect logic flow. Step 1. We're seeing styrene prices maintain their current elevated levels in key Asian bazaars. Step 2. Because of those upstream styrene costs, there is a very strong possibility that overall production costs for local producers are going to go up. Sound familiar? Yeah, it's exactly what we just observed happening in the European market. And finally, step 3, if production costs rise, local producers will inevitably raise their ex-works prices to protect their margins. It's really just a matter of time.
And that leads us to the definitive conclusion from Polymer Bazaar. Quote, "So we recommend buying." It is a strong, completely unambiguous piece of market intelligence. Given the high probability of an ex-works price hike triggered by those Asian styrene costs, the strategic move here is to secure your inventory at the correct baseline right now before the local producers officially adjust those rates upward.
Finally, Section 4. Next steps and resources for connecting with Polymer Bazaar. This whole breakdown brilliantly illustrates how the team at Polymer Bazaar makes it incredibly easy for you to stay ahead of these exact kinds of market disruptions. If you need this data in real time, literally right in your pocket, Polymer Bazaar offers an AI-powered chatbot. All you have to do is WhatsApp the letters PS to +91 937 462 4365, and you'll get an instant reply in just 5 seconds. Super easy. Now, if you prefer a real deep dive, you can download the full PDF report at polymerbazaar.com/future-trend/GPPS. And of course, their customer care and regional management teams are always just a quick phone call away. We're going to leave you with this final provocative thought to consider today. With Asian styrene costs poised to disrupt local pricing, are your current PS inventories prepared for the imminent hike? Seriously, take a hard look at your procurement pipeline this week and decide if you are positioned to absorb or strategically avoid those rising production costs. Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer, and we will absolutely see you next time for more data-driven market intelligence.